All right. I think we've got like the whole crew here. And hopefully some more folks will trickle on in. However, in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and give us kind of a soft kickoff here. So for those of you who have joined us and here early, thank you so much. I know it seems weird to thank people early, even though it's 10 minutes past, but that's the life of Web3. So it's how we just roll with things. So I mentioned earlier, the idea really is that we are going to spend, what is now the next 80 minutes together and really download and explore some fun stuff from artists of a very exciting project, which since Patrick's on stage, I actually could have him share an overview for the folks in the room that aren't familiar with the project. And also those that may not yet know the connection between Gripner and the Glimmering. So we're going to go ahead and start some combo. We get some folks in here, do some sharing. We will give away some prizes if we can get some momentum in here. I'm thinking we'll probably spend 30-35 minutes chatting with our esteemed panel. And then, of course, anyone in the audience is going to be more than welcome to come up, ask questions, talk about your journey. If there are other artists in the room, this is a very open space. We'd love to hear from you. If you're working on a project in the Web3 space, please share that with us during the share time. We love to work and understand everything that's going out there in the space and find like awesome collabs and partnerships. So this is a very open space to talk about yourself as well as your projects and things that you're working on. So I think we're going to have a little bit of fun. Before we get started, one more time, please just hit that blue circle button at the bottom with the plus in it and share the room to remind everybody that we are here. And then we're going to jump in, I think, and get started. So I think where I'd like to start is, especially since right before this, I had asked Mr. Brent to add some posts to both the Glimmering and the Gripner Twitter, which kind of reminded me that we should start by just talking about Gripner, what we're doing at Gripner, and then the Glimmering, right, is our first adventure world. And Patrick, since you're here on stage and our brainchild and founder, perhaps you would like to take that intro of the company and the project. Or if you're cooking dumplings and chicken, I can do it. We're gonna give a 1, 2, 3. Okay, so lots of you may know or be familiar with this crew under Gripner, and you may or may not be familiar with our brand, The Glimmering. So wait, Patrick?
Yes, I was muted. I couldn't undo it. I was pressing the button over and over again.
You know what? I'm so happy that you messaged me. Thank you, because I did do that, and the whole thing would have been like this. I would have been like, I guess nobody wants to talk. Okay, so sorry for that, and I'm ready to turn it over to you, and I'm going to quiet myself.
Cool, Jax. I appreciate that. No, it's been an amazing journey. I have to say the least. It's been incredible over literally almost the past 9 months now since we've gotten this project up and running. And the original inspiration literally was Loot for Adventurers, which was at the end of September. 10,000 loot bags were dropped, which was a very different NFT drop because it wasn't art, it was text. And it was literally meant to be something to build off of. And me and thousands of other people started to dive right in. And one thing I noticed pretty quickly is that people were avoiding the elephant in the room, is that so many people wanted to build something for tabletop role-playing games. They wanted to build something for Dungeons and Dragons, but they weren't actually doing it. And because I've been a dungeon master and a player, and I recognized that there was an open gaming license, the OGL, and I realized that we could literally, because there's an open gaming license, start building an on-chain utility for the game of D&D in the 5th edition. And I started really thinking about this, and I showed up to what's called Revelry Partners down here in New Orleans, which is a technology dev shop. They have a VC component. They have a startup studio. And I hung out with Britt McCrossan, who's now our CEO, and Gerard, who's the leader of Revelry, and really shared with this crazy idea that what if we could mint 10,000 really cool create the ability for having tabletop role-playing games actually be on chain, where the outcomes of your session are recorded on the blockchain so that all the leveling up, the experience points, all the loot, all the swords, all the magic items, and all the gold and currency that you earn or you create during a session are actually on chain. And they thought it was an incredible idea. We started really to push forward. Fast forward to the end of 21, we started pull together this incredible art team, of course, led by our creative director, Kyle. And in the new year, we pushed forward to raise about $2.5 million of seed capital to really fund this project on a go forward basis. And what I'm excited about Gripner, which is the company, is that we're releasing our first suite of player characters in our first world called the Glimmering. And we're lucky enough to have Stephen Ragden McFarland, who has an incredible amount of experience in not only Dungeons and Dragons with WotC, where he worked on 4th edition and 5th edition and some of 3 as well, but also he spent a decade at Paizo's with Pathfinder, Starfinder, and the rest. So he's got an incredible depth of capability within the game design standpoint. So not only are we building incredible art for 10,000 player characters, are also building an incredible design world on top of that using the OGL, but our own platform called the Glimmering. And what's thrilling now is we're getting closer and closer to that magical moment where we actually invite everyone in to play with us. And I noticed over the past couple of weeks, we're starting to introduce the Glimmering in that world by a one-shot that Stephen wrote called A Dark and Stormy Night, where almost every other week we're inviting players to come in and experience that world and that feel of the Glimmering for the first time. So I couldn't be more excited to share the stage with these artists because I've been inspired by them over the past couple of months, not only with their art, but their passion for this project. They've been grinding away at odd hours, doing very interesting things. And time again, we're in an art session and I'm completely blown away by what they put together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hush and let the artists speak for themselves because they're the real magic people here. They're the real wizards. I'm just a noob here trying to show face. So thanks everyone for joining.
Thanks so much, Patrick. That was fantastic. And I will not do this to others because I know they're newbies, but you are not. And so I'm going to put you on the spot for 1 second. And I'm going to say, we're going to shift over to the artwork. Give me the word that describes it.
Punk rock, baby.
Yeah, baby. All right. Super cool. Excellent. Thank you for letting me put you on the spot like that. So here's what I'm thinking. We are going to go ahead and kick off. And I am going to, well, we can just go popcorn style is fine. If you're comfortable going for first, John. If not, we'll just hop in how we do. And real quick, just background, like what do you want us to know as we go through this chat? Just like 2 minutes. And potentially share, some kind of crazy, incredible, like awesome, like what's that one project you've worked on that really stands out? And let's go ahead. John, are you cool to kick us off?
Yeah, sure, I guess.
All right.
So the one project that would be, I was going to say this one coming in here. This is definitely the most intricate project I've worked on, I think. I did have a thing show up on a Super Bowl commercial once, so that was kind of fun.
And John, for the people that are in the audience, could you just tell us quickly, like your role on the art team? Is there something specific that you work on?
Yeah. So I do the coloring. Basically, I just think about the lighting for each character, for each asset. Try to keep that consistent. Try to do it in a way that can be simply reassembled by the art generation app on the other side. That's what I do.
I don't know. This is Kyle. I would argue that John does a whole hell of a lot more than that. I mean, this guy his hands are the last ones to touch the artwork before it gets to the technology side. And he's been incredibly instrumental in just figuring out and making sure that, all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, and Dan as well. Like their roles extend far beyond just drawing artwork. It's figuring out, how to solve some crazy puzzles and new ones that arise every day. So
I love that. And Kyle, like, thanks for that ad. And since you jumped in, as creative director. Maybe we'll kind of skip ahead. I know we were going to ask you this a little bit later, but talk a little bit about your role, and maybe you can introduce your team and tell us the story about how you assembled this team. Because I know when I first got access to the project and was told, oh, we've got someone, they're going to present a couple of art samples to us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that process that you went through, and going all the way back to when we looked at the original submissions, right, at that time, from, of course, Angry Blue, and we had a couple other folks in there, and
Yep.
just seeing how that has gone from there to here. Why don't you kind of give us that setting?
Okay. Well, I mean, yes, my name is Kyle. I'm the creative director on Gripner and the Glimmering. Patrick and I go back years, I think, to maybe 2014 or so, when at the time he had his company Federated Sample, and it was undergoing a rebrand, which they changed to Lucid. And he had retained my agency, New Science, to oversee the rebranding of the company. And we just always kind of got along and stayed in touch. And I think it was last August. he kind of gave me a phone call out of the blue and was like, "Hey, what do you know about NFTs? And have you gone down the rabbit hole much?" And I think I ended up doing a serious deep dive on NFTs and Web3 over the course of 2 weeks. And he's like, "Hey, I got this idea. Is this something you're interested in doing?" And pretty quickly, I was on board. I'm always driven by an opportunity to do something new that I've never done before, and this certainly fit the bill. And pretty soon he introduced me to Brent, our CEO. And I think at the time, I think it was just the three of us and Jax. I'm guessing you were involved behind the scenes, and maybe Steven was, but it was a pretty small group at that time. And the artwork was sort of the first piece of the puzzle that we needed to figure out, like, what could this actually be? And I kind of built my career on reimagining brands. When the market seems to zig, I like to zag. And with D&D, there was a really cool opportunity to do something different, considering that it was Web3. You can go on Google, you can go on DeviantArt, you can do a search for D&D, and you're going to get some really, really beautiful stuff. And I didn't want to just recreate that. At the same time, I also didn't want to just recreate as I'm calling it, the yearbook photo. You can kind of go on OpenSea and you can see all the yearbook photos, and it's really cool. But to me, D&D was more about action. It's a verb. I wanted it. If you're going to see a fighter, I want to see a badass looking fighter. And it's funny, Brent was like, "Well, who would you reach out to?" And first name, instantly, I was like, Angry Blue. It's like, Justin and I had collaborated on a project with, he and I actually worked on an animated short film for Assassin's Creed that we did with Rob Zombie and Tony Moore. I actually found out about Angry Blue because at the time I was listening to a lot of hardcore music, and I was into this band called the Acacia Strain, and Angry Blue had done all of the album artwork for them. And that was how I got turned on to his stuff. But, we decided we wanted to reach out to a handful of artists. There were some people I had on the list that I had worked with or had met, and just kind of threw it out there. Some responded and were really interested in it. Others were kind of anti-NFT, and others were excited about the opportunity. And we kind of just let them put their spin on it. And Justin came back with some really, really cool looking stuff, and I think we all.
It was a pretty big assignment, right, Kyle? I think you had asked for like 3 different versions of 3 different characters, right?
Yeah, we gave them a good mix of stuff. It was, we basically, obviously we'd want to see just sort of like one piece of concept art. It was like, all right, well, I can't remember exactly the process, but I do believe it was something like, give me 3 elves, give me 3 orcs, and, maybe Justin will recall, but we had a pretty good sample size of looks. Like, I reached out to completely different people. Justin's style was much more edgy, dark, punk rock. He works with obviously everyone from Roger Waters to Iggy Pop to Metallica. There were some other artists that were a bit more in the fine art realm. There were some people that I'd worked with that do more movie poster stuff. There were some comic book artists. And, when we just kind of reviewed everything and looked at the mix, it was pretty clear that, what Justin brought to the table was just something that was going to be a much more unique and different look for D&D than anything I had really seen. I think that any of us had seen, and we all got really, jazzed about it. And we built the team from there.
Yeah, it's been amazing to see, like, you know, how like the team has come together, but also the output. And I'm sure we'll get into some of the like technical aspects of it.
Yep.
So that it's just been for me incredible. And then not to mention, if I do say so myself, it's like a group of super cool people too. So like that's always extra
Well, John,
helpful.
yeah, I want to mention John actually was on that project as well. He worked on the Assassin's Creed. Yeah,
So cool.
he worked on that as well. So his name was, you know, when we started, you know, onboarding with Justin, we figured we needed to build a team. Like John was like, okay, we need John to color this stuff. we know what he's going to do. He's going to bring it, and he has delivered tenfold. The stuff just looks incredible.
I keep joking that John is our Thomas Kincaid. He's the painter of light for these monsters and snaggletooth things we're making.
I was supposed to be the Hildebrandt brother of this, not Thomas Kincaid, damn it.
I know. No one wants to be that, but that's what you are. I'm sorry.
So Justin, do you want to, Justin, who, and we keep saying Angry Blue and Justin are the same individual to the best of my knowledge anyway. Justin, I'd love to hear a little bit about yourself and like your coolest or craziest thing. And I know you guys all have such insane CVs. It's hard to just like point out one.
Yeah, being an entrepreneur is kind of a certain type of trauma, right? So, like, trying to remember what like the craziest, coolest story is interesting on the spot. I don't know that I have a great story offhand, other than it's not like the craziest job or whatever, but right before the world exploded with the pandemic, the Foo Fighters hit me up to do this 25th anniversary tour, and they wanted to make it feel like the 90s, and they wanted to play a bunch of the same venues that they had played on the very first album tour when they were in a van. And they were like, okay, well, we want to focus on our van, and we want to focus on a big feature element, like a big feature of the city that we're going to be in, and anything around that time. And I was like, you guys, Slayer wants that poster, but my date is Oklahoma City. You guys do not want me to do something representative of Oklahoma City 25 years ago. So I'm going to make something that just feels like weird 90s pop art, like all the fun stuff that Frank Kozik did in the 90s. And but that was one of those things where, you know, I get a direct request from a client. I'm like, oh, that sounds really fun, except for the date that I have. But I don't know. It's always fun to set up at like music festivals and see which types of people throughout a 4-day weekend come in, super hazy and various elements of enjoying their festival experience. Kind of smear into your booth and chat at you for whatever nonsense. I don't know. I do a lot of stuff for Facebook in the information security world also, and that can be a lot of fun and weird.
Fun and weird.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I love it. Let's hear from Dan quickly, and then we'll talk to one additional artist, and then we'll jump in a little bit into some of the depth on the art as it relates to the project.
Yeah, sure. What is it you want to know?
This is what I would like to know. In 2 or 3 minutes, tell us about yourself and some interesting, cool, your favorite project, weirdest thing, whatever. You pick one thing specific and share it with us.
Oh yeah,
Well,
this one is definitely the weirdest one by far in terms of volume and like technically figuring things out and pushing limits and shit like that. I kind of came into this because Angry Blue is an old friend of mine, and he kind of just presented me with, hey, we have this opportunity to do Dungeons and Dragons sort of things. Are you interested? And I immediately called up my employer at the time and told them to go away and jumped on this. Because I had been carrying around D&D art books all through high school and kind of had based everything that I was doing on those things, right? So, but I've also worked in band merchandise and things like that. I did a lot of stuff for Ghost for a few years. That was a strange experience. Yeah, I don't know. I would say all in all, this one has been the most interesting and challenging for me. So,
I love that. I'm excited to dig into a little bit more about the challenging part, right? And being able to show off
oh
some of
yeah,
that art.
yeah,
Because
absolutely.
yeah, I will admit at times I'd be like, why can't we just get this quicker? Right. And then you see the output and you're like, oh, Jacqueline, just be patient. So
Oh yeah, well there has been a bit of like mitigating that kind of thing, so for sure.
I love it. I love it. But like there was a vision and like a commitment and a level of just like intricacy, as one of you said, that was expected, right? That was kind of demanded because we believe that's what our community members like deserve, right, in this space. And it's really interesting in this world that moves so fast to really at times be able to stick to those visions, right? And say, no, this is what we said we're going to do. So that's what we're going to do. So I love that. And now I would love to hear a little bit from Joe.
Hey.
Hey.
Hey. Yeah. So I started out as a tattoo artist. I've been tattooing for this year's 20 years. And as far as like weirdest job or anything like that, I've bounced around a lot. But I think the reason that we all work really well with this job is we're all kind of just adventurous. So we kind of put ourselves in these positions where all our jobs are a little fucking weird. Um, like as a tattooer, um, every day is just complex problem solving. You get a new art director for every individual job. So there's something about that kind of just makes you chase things. Like you want to try to find things that are interesting around every corner. Which is kind of what led me here. Justin hit me up about coming into this job. He brought me in out of the cold, fed me, nursed me. But yeah, gave me a quick rundown. He knew that I was interested in the NFT space, and just again being adventurous and willing to try new things. So everything about this job kind of checked all the high quality boxes in my I need this job in my life.
I love that. I love that. I love how you said, I need this job in my life. Like that's super powerful. I'm happy that you are happy with the work that you're doing. That's a very powerful statement. I'd love to hear from a couple of you. Before you were in kind of a combined question, I will, around just like NFTs specifically, like prior to the project, like were you aware or did you have an opinion like yay, nay, or I don't care, I don't know, doesn't matter? And what, like, now that you're like in the space, like now you're officially like Web3 artists, whether you wanted to be or not, right? You're Web3 NFT artists at the most insane level. And so like what opportunities do you think they are like for artists like yourself, given your histories and now exposure to this space, do you think that Web3 offers artists like yourself? Any of you can go ahead and unmute.
I don't know, honestly, yet. It'll be interesting to see how this specific project that we've been in the mines on aggressively, how it rolls out, and then with that experience, be able to talk to some of the other artists that we love and see how their experience was in comparison to ours. But because we've just kind of been in the mines doing the work, there's not really opportunity to kind of like piddle around and like kind of figure out what the opportunity might be. It's kind of more important to solve all those visual problems and go like, okay, how can we cut off 3 weeks here? Okay, how can we pivot this weird thing, still make it really cool, check all the boxes that we need to, and make sure that we're bringing the thing that we want to and representing this properly as a team. And that's been kind of the most of the focus for all of us, I feel.
And were you like,
yeah, it's still such a new space for me that I don't know what I think about it.
Oh,
I think
interesting.
that's the best point is that it's a new space. Like, if we talk about like what we think is possible or anything like that. That's the point. It's all possible. We don't know what the fuck this is yet. You know what I mean? Like it's an exciting frontier. It's something that is what we do, but we get to reinterpret it in potentially infinite amount of ways.
For me, I remember like it's been about 10 years now. My kids have been asking me for money to buy shit on Roblox. And I just like it seems like such a similar thing. And it seems like, everybody wants stuff that represents them personally. And if you spend most of your time on the internet, then you want stuff that represents you personally on the internet. So, yeah, I kind of see some, I don't know specifically what they look like, but I think there's going to be a lot of business for artists to do in that space coming up here.
Kyle, I'd love to hear sort of your perspective. Yeah, you jump in.
Yeah, it's a super interesting time. Obviously, I don't think any of us really know where this is completely headed. I mean, we could wake up tomorrow and someone will have split the atom in Web3, and there'll be some new thing. It seems to me, at least at the moment, based on what I'm seeing, what some of the other like Bored Apes, for example. It's funny. I just got off I had a call with this guy, Todd Wanish, who is he's one of the founders of the NFT collection Adult Fantasy. They're doing some really interesting stuff, and their whole model is set up around allowing the NFT holders to. He comes from Marvel Studios. His whole backstory is character creation, and their whole model is around creating a platform for people to build universes around their NFT characters, and that just seems to be where I think everything is heading. Is it's putting more power of creativity and in the hands of fans, essentially, right? Like I think we just saw recently, there was a couple of ape holders that are putting out like a hip hop album. There's just some really interesting things there, but that to me seems to be the direction things are heading. Is it's really the decentralizing of sort of IP.
Yes. Yep.
That to me is sort of the writing on the wall, but I don't think any of us really know what that means, 6 months, 12 months, 24 months from now even. So
yeah.
it'll be interesting.
Kyle, when you talk about like IP, right, I'm working like very closely, with some of the main studios. And this is a huge concern, right? Because now the whole studio model, for example, it has a potential to kind of be turned upside down for the first time, right?
Yep.
And now the creators are able to monetize at a level that is deserved over long periods of time. The studios, are obviously starting to feel that they're not going to be able to hold as much of the bag as they would like to, and trying to understand. And then with the like evolution of DAOs and other things, now people can, really generate funding and ideas with collections and their own fans, right? Like you can put out your own collection that it can fund you to do some of these bigger things. And so there's a real movement in the space. And the thing I think that has been most exciting to me in like doing these things and working with all kinds of clients is really the idea that hopefully, we're really getting to a point where creators and artists, right, can begin to make a living from their art and not have to just be job to job, right? You can, but have like more consistency and control. And I know that's really exciting for me. Does that resonate with anyone?
It does for me, certainly. I mean, I can't speak for those, we their backgrounds are sort of similar but different than like my own, right? Like as an agency owner, you could market the hell out of like a product, but it's not like I have points on, like if I market a new Nike shoe, it's not like I get some royalty on every shoe that's sold.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Same thing with like the artist, right? Like they get bought outright to do a piece of art for an artist, and then they can go sell 10 or they can sell 100,000 of those things. So this certainly breaks the mold of the old model. It's really fascinating to me. What I have a feeling that there are just some guys in a garage or their apartment doing sort of the same thing we're doing, but in a much different way, and they're gonna unleash it on the world in 6 to 8 months, and we're all just gonna be like, oh my god.
This is Patrick. jumping in. How does it feel to be an equity holder in the company itself as a different role for the creative director or artist to have with the project in the first place?
That's cool.
Well, I mean, I can speak for me. I mean, obviously, I have my business, and I'm, that I'm actually 100% equity in. But yeah, no, I mean, I love it because when I started my company 12 years ago, I had made the point that I wasn't going to. I'd actually received some advice from a couple people, and they both said the same thing maybe 15 years ago, and they were very, very successful people, and they both said, invest in yourself. You'll never make a better decision in your life. And so that was when I decided to start my company. And from that point forward, I said I wasn't going to really engage in anything that I didn't have a piece of. Because otherwise it's like, what's the point? And it feels great. I mean, like, I'm sure these guys feel the same way. Like, this is my baby. We all care passionately about every single thing that goes out the door. Like, if I don't see the right typeface being used in something, like I flip my lid.
So he has a physical bodily response from head to toe.
That's the downside of doing creative work, though. Yeah, I mean, I just love making stuff. When I'm not working with clients, I am at my print shop making new art prints and that sort of stuff. And this is a new type of collaboration that's super fun to do, and kind of remove myself as the central only figure and go, okay, well, how do we have a little team where we set up expectations for each other and not overcomplicate things, but still get like a really cool product that we're really happy with. It's been really weird for me to go, cool, this initially started as my project, and then after like phone call 3, I was like, oh, I need somebody else. I'm going to call Dan.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think John was maybe already on board. And then a couple weeks after that, we're like, we need another body. Let's get Joe in on this. And making sure that we're delivering the quality that we really want, but having all the creative freedoms and getting to make all the cool choices we'd like to do, but still crossing all the T's and dotting the I's is important. So that way we don't all have the horrible bodily response of the wrong typeface or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, this whole process for me at least has been much more like being in a band.
And you would know something about that, right, Kyle?
I would.
It's 100% like that. Yeah.
Yeah, everyone's got their little piece that they're contributing to a song. I mean, I just had this experience last night where we had been working on something, and our bass player had been out of town, and he came in, and the actual song didn't change so much, but the feel and the rhythm and the tempo completely got turned upside down. We were suddenly like, oh my God, I never thought of that before. And suddenly this thing that we thought was amazing just became that much greater. And that's what I've been most stoked on, is like seeing these guys just grind every single day, every weekend, late nights, early mornings, and just the way they've been able to sort of tag team this thing. I mean, I'll let them speak, but like all credit goes to these guys for what they've been able. I mean, they've been pulling rabbits out of hats left and right.
Yeah. It's been out. So I got my call from Patrick while I was in the parking lot of the gym. And so thankfully he interrupted my workout for the night, which was fine, telling me about the project.
You're welcome.
What was interesting to me, so I come from the space as like an NFT collector, an NFT investor, like deep hours and hours and hours in the space. And, I'm also, run a corporate business and whatnot. And when I kind of heard the model of how things are set up with the equity for myself as a collector, what stood out, I hadn't heard any other project do that. And why it was important to me is what we're hearing here, right? It's like, hey, we're all part of a team. Everybody needs to have a part. And as such, everybody is treating it like their own baby. Like, imagine having a baby, but you have 10 nannies to help you, right? And that's like sort of this environment that we're in. And it's just been quite an experience, I guess I could say.
Jack, I got good news, bad news. Good
Tell me
news,
more.
I think the chicken dumplings are going to work. Bad
No
news is
way.
now that,
This is
yeah,
excellent.
the chicken dumplings are happening. A little
So
asparagus on the
Alabama's
side.
not the Alabama knows the way.
Sometimes, every now and then, but
Okay.
family's going to eat, so I'm going to bounce. But
Yep.
thanks for letting me join in, and onward. Appreciate all the artists in particular for all the work you do. I know it's been a lot, so thank you.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're welcome, Mr. Comer.
Yeah, man.
Enjoy your dumplings.
I will. Y'all take care.
Take care. Thanks,
Laters.
Patrick. Yeah, so for me too, like as someone who's investing, like I love the idea of like people having a piece, because it also means to me like collaboration, consistency, and the idea of longevity, right? So we've seen projects, not do well because whatever reason, and so the idea of like a commitment, a consistency, and a community about how we're approaching it, I think has really help to identify the type of work that's being done out of Gripner for sure. Gripner and the Glimmering. So now I just want to hear about the art. I want to hear about the art. I think that one of the best places, in my opinion, right now, to see some of this art, you can, of course, please go up and follow Twitter, and you'll see some art there. And also, if you go on Instagram and follow the Glimmering on Instagram, there's all kinds of cool stuff. So we're getting to see lots of art. Instagram stories has kind of some fun flip books. So I really encourage everybody, if you're here and sort of inspired by this group and want to get an idea and see what this art is, please go there. At the top, you will see we have posted a tweet for the Glimmering. So please go ahead and follow us. And this poster was our reveal, our first reveal from Gripner around the world, and just would like that's our output. So I just love to hear from you guys about the process, the layers, balancing the complexity between the other things. Now it's your turn to kind of talk to us about what you do in your world. And if you'd like to share any of your favorite songs you listen to while you do it, that would be kind of fun.
Oh, that's like too. I can't do the song thing. That's too much.
Do it. Pull it out. Get it.
Commit, boss of me. The poster was pretty fun because Dan and I just batted a bunch of ideas back and forth, and kind of get to go back to echo the band thing. Like I've always, when playing music in a room with somebody, if somebody else is doing the more interesting thing, you kind of yes and that thing instead of like, oh yeah, but I can turn up louder or whatever. And Dan came up with a fun composition that was pretty rad, but he had other stuff that he was drowning in how to do. So I was like, I'll take your design and then draw on top of it and then take the credit for it and give it to John and he can color it. But it was pretty fun to have that go through a bunch of pretty loose compositions and then end up where it did. And then I think there was still even more stacking that went on top of it after that when it came to, oh wait, this is not just a poster. It is also a trailer that's in a completely different composition to be a horizontal thing versus what I'm used to with an 18 by 24 thing. You put the cool logo up at the top and the date and the venue stuff down here. Okay, well, how do we set that up for success at the same time when trying to generate as many elements as possible, but also but we need to be making the NFT art.
Yeah, that was kind of it's funny, but if you take a look at the website, you look at, long story short, when you're on limited time and resources, you kind of get the most bang for your buck. And if you go back and watch the trailer that we dropped when we announced this thing, you'll basically see that it's the poster animated, right? The whole idea was, all right, if we're going to have these guys spend some time pulling them off of NFT artwork, how can we get multiple bites at the apple with a single asset? So the idea was, well, create a killer poster that gives us some really cool key art that we can use on a website. We can use on the poster that we can mint, and that we can also, hand off to Matt, my video producer, who can take it and animate it and turn it into a story. I mean, the entire script was written around the poster artwork. It's like they drew this insane poster, and it's like, okay, now let's write a script based on that and figure out how we can turn it into a 60-second, announcement piece, and it worked out beautifully.
Which all happened in like 2 weeks' time, and never stopped working on any of the NFT stuff at the same time.
Yeah, it was normally. I mean, at a minimum for something like that, you would probably take 3 months to produce something like that, and we did it in like 3 weeks.
Yeah, it was. If I do like a Metallica poster or any poster for any of the larger bands I do stuff for, I'm like, well, the art is going to take me about a week, and then I have to simplify it for screen printing, and that's going to take 3 or 4 days, and then it's going to take me 3 to 7 days to print the thing. Oh, I need to do a full rock poster on Friday. All right, let's see how this goes.
Well, and that's the absolutely batshit thing about this generative art thing that probably not a lot of people understand unless they're creating that thing is the amount of work that goes into it is staggering, because you check things over and over again, and yeah, I mean, it's just you swapping out hairs and things like that. It's just, you don't really fully understand what's going on unless you take every single asset and stack it up, compare,
and then make it 3 times as complicated by adding different body types.
Right. And what we did was absolutely insane, because we took a thing. If you look at all other generative NFT art, they're very static images, right? And the challenge for us in this project was to, hey, let's do something a little bit different. Let's make these characters, have some kind of emotion and personality instead of just being the same thing over and over again. And that was a really interesting challenge. And I don't know if anyone has really tried to tackle it the way that we did.
Well, yeah, the other piece that Paul's right is like, to your point, Dan, you look at a lot of the generative art right now. It's kind of like one character, right, that just has sort of random attributes, right?
Right. You add some shit to the top of it.
Yeah, this is like, okay, well, there's 8 ancestries. There's 12 classes. Within each class, there's a front-handed weapon or a backhanded weapon. Like there is some very, very specific things that you guys had to solve, as opposed to like, oh, let's just give this guy a funny hat, let's give this guy a different funny hat, and let's give this guy another funny hat.
Right, exactly.
What if this guy has 3 hats?
Yeah, exactly. There was there was definitely some very unique and interesting puzzles to solve in this process, and I'm kind of blown away that we're getting pretty close to the finish line here. Which is remarkable.
Yeah, and Kyle, you were referencing, the website and the trailer and the poster, and that is pinned at the top of the room. So for those of you who haven't seen it yet, please click on it and check it out. And then you also can go to Discord and stuff from there too. So I had to remind everybody of that.
Yes, please join the Discord.
What was there something like along the way that you thought was going to work and then didn't work?
Time.
Time. Yes, time.
Could you tell us?
Yeah, sure. There.
And the collection, like what's in this collection? We haven't talked a lot about it. Like what we keep talking about characters and arts and weapons and movements. So can you tell us more? Describe this to us.
Go for it, Dan.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's one of those things where, like we have 3 guys, right? Like doing the primary illustrations for things like that. And then one thing that you don't take into account initially is, we all work on tablets and things like that. And the even just like the variation of a pressure of one person's hand versus another person's hand can throw alignment of things kind of like way off in unexpected ways. So kind of trying to like unify 3 illustrators and a colorist onto one page is a really interesting challenge. Now, fortunately with these guys, we all communicate super well, and we've been able to pull that off. And I was like listening to a couple things, spaces before this, and it's generally like a person, doing the primary art and things like that.
Right.
But for the
that would have been so
challenge,
much easier.
yeah, right. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of been the general challenge of the thing is, getting everybody on the same page. And luckily, I'm working with a team of people that, communicate well, and we can get that done. Uh, I would like to see someone else try to approach what we're doing and see what their results are like, because it's pretty wild, and I'm really proud of the people that I work with for pulling that off and pulling it together. It's a weird thing to get fussy artists together and get them all on the same page. Like, we all have to let go of stuff and kind of be like, oh
No.
shit, that's not the way I would do it.
No, this is how horns are drawn.
Right. So
I,
yeah,
I,
I mean, that's art nerd stuff, but it's something that you have to reconcile, and luckily, we're all good friends at this point, and yeah, we know what we're doing.
Yeah,
So
Dan, you mentioned like blending three different illustrators' work together. My my first day, I remember opening that file and getting you and Justin's list of layers in Photoshop, and it was like waking up in somebody else's house. I was like, "What the fuck is this?"
oh yeah.
Yeah, hell is other
Just
people's PSDs.
yes, exactly.
Dan told me that you said that really early in the project, and I just thought hell is your PSDs for sure.
That's fair.
oh, I love it. Hey, Kyle,
Yep.
for some of the collectors in the room, could you share like a little bit about the collection, like as it relates to like what kind of characters are we going to see? I know we've got some, that you have some ancestries, some classes. Like, can you tell us? Can you give us like a little description? I know we don't want to say everything, but tell us a little about what we're going to see when the collection launches.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because even if you go to the site, what you see on the site now is a pretty decent representation of what the collection is going to be, but there are a few bells and whistles that we've kind of kept close to the chest that we're actually still kind of working through. But I would definitely say there are some additional pieces of art and some aspects that are going to give these NFTs a bit more personality. There's definitely going to be a lot more variety as far as skin tones, character faces, rarity attributes, backgrounds, environments. Right now you're kind of just seeing a gradient that's been there, but we've certainly elevated even what's behind the characters, not only to just put them in some cool situations, but also they help kind of bring the characters forward. But yeah, I
Can
mean,
you remind us, Kyle, a little bit
Mhm.
about like the characters? Like, I know there's like human fighters, dragonborns. Like, can you just tell us a little bit about like the actual characters from the art perspective? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everything is coming down to, Patrick this guy is a motherfucking wizard. Like, we have these art attribute calls on Fridays, and where we go through and look at the distribution tables, right? So all these characters are based on not just the art, but the distribution tables and how everything from masculine and feminine to class. So class could be anything from like fighter to barbarian to bard,
Oh yeah,
wizard, warlock, etc. Right, and then within that, there's 8 different ancestries, which could everything be from human to halfling, tiefling, orc, dragonborn, etc., etc. And then and again, each one of those is weighted differently. So dragonborn, I believe, is going to be the most rare of all ancestries. And then there's different weights to weapons, eye color, hair type, character face, armor. I mean, these guys could probably get more specific into some of that stuff, but everything is each character is going to be very, very unique. I believe there's going to be names generated as well. The environment is going to be something that we're actually working on right now. Not only just the environments themselves, but how they're going to be weighted. Certain environments may be based completely on class. It could be on body type. There are some. I'll let those guys speak to some of those characteristics. There's sort of the humanoid characters. There's some that are a bit beefier, like the Dragonborn or the Orc bodies are obviously much bigger than a human body. I'll let those guys speak to some of those generative aspects because they're the ones that have really been grinding and creating those. But they're going to be very unique and very cool.
Awesome. That is sounds super exciting. Did anyone want to jump in and share any do you have a favorite character type or a favorite weapon to draw or
oh man, I wish we could draw some variants and weapons. That'll hopefully come later. The cool thing about D&D is embracing all the imperfections of your character when you play. So if you are a smaller character, you might role play in a way that benefits some weird sneaky element of your height. Or alternatively, if you're a big manga orc character, you're going to be a little clumsier and sillier. And so being able to come up with these visual representations of of archetypes to play with is really fun. So I think generally what's the most fun is anything with snaggle teeth or big eyes or horns or anything gross, anything with just that monster element is the stuff that we're going to sink our teeth into instead of drawing someone who would be named, I don't know, Craig the Adventurer.
I love it. And what's interesting, Jax, I got to give credit to Julian on the technology side and Luke that have been creating the smart contracts for these.
Yes.
And just how the generative art actually works. I mean, it's these guys, like I said, John really is the last pair of hands to touch this stuff, and it gets organized and exported, and we send it off to Julian, and then magically just art is generated. 5 days later.
Stuff and then it's just hey, deal with it.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, the tech guys are definitely the heroes of this story.
I love that. So how is it so as an artist, right, you're also working with game design and technology, what is that experience like? What has it been like that normally, or is this a new experience?
Totally new.
Yeah, completely new. Usually I at least my thing is I get to draw an image once and then I print a couple hundred copies of it that I hate forever until I sell out of them, because then I can stop looking at them, and then that's it. This project is cool because it has so many rules to stay focused on and redial into, because the visual decisions are really important to how you think about the gameplay stuff.
It's interesting. I'm sorry, Justin, I mean to cut you up. It was interesting because as we're talking about this, it's I actually see some parallels with the Assassin's Creed video we did, right? It was you guys did all this crazy artwork, but then eventually it got handed off to, some motion graphics and animators who then take it and cut it up into a bunch of different pieces and, start animating elbows and legs and I don't know. It is kind of interesting to me that we've kind of done something like this before, but not really.
Oh yeah, but I was there and we got to just pass off BSDs, which was a billion
lot
times
easier.
simpler.
Yeah, that's true. You don't have to go back and fix too much. This one's been,
somebody else's problem that time.
Yeah, it was my problem. It was mine and Matt's.
How do you all work with SRM? How do you do you guys just meet regularly and he tells you the story? How does that connection work between his storytelling and vision of the world connected to art?
The McFarlane.
Yes.
That's who you're referring to. Yeah.
SRM, yeah.
Yes, the SRM.
Rodney McFarland.
He sounds like an agency, SRM.
I'm sure he'd love that.
I'm sure he's listening right now. Be careful.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed working with Steven. He gives incredibly good input in a kind of like really weird way, but I'm also maybe a little fanboy about him because I know what the kind of shit that he's done, and so yeah, I don't yeah, it's been a really good flow with the team in general, like, right, like, so we all kind of contact each other and kind of figure out, like, how do we want this to look, what do we want this to be, what are the rules, are there rules, like, yeah.
Hey, you wrote this. I think this might be a cooler visual solution. Can I just ignore this detailed thing you wrote? Because you could change those words, maybe?
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. Yeah, he's given us a lot of freedom in that regard, and that's
He
been a very
trusts
cool
us.
thing about this project is that it's like, hey, you make the thing, and we'll work around that. So that's very unusual in a project in general.
Yeah,
That is unusual in a project.
it does seem like a divine connection, if you will. If there's anybody in the audience who would like to come up and either ask a question of one of the artists on the stage and or share anything about your experience as an artist in the space, then we would absolutely love to hear from you. So go ahead and raise your hand and we will invite you up. And in the meantime, we're going to keep jamming out chatting. I got one question. Like, how do you all communicate, right? Because you're all in different places. Like, is it like, do you have like standard times you talk, or is just all throughout the day, or like how does that
Both.
collab work?
Both.
We're annoyingly
It's
on
a
like 6 apps.
yeah, it's a bombardment of snarky text continuously.
Well, three of us
Yeah,
are in Kentucky, so
3 of us are in Kentucky.
Of course,
No,
I'm in.
that's still yeah. Dan and I live less than 10 minutes away from each other, and yet we're communicating. I haven't never called my wife as much as I call Dan.
it's true. It's true.
I think you should admit that with Mother's Day coming up, or if there's children. How about Mazer.eth has come up with a question or asking to speak. Would you like to share?
Hey everybody, how's it going? This project is really awesome, and I found it through Kyle. Kyle's a good friend of mine, and this is great. Everyone sharing their artistic experiences and stuff, and talking about the art and kind of world building. I'm kind of curious, what's it like world building via the art on this? Like, what are some challenges and what are some really awesome breakthroughs you guys have had so far?
Justin?
Breakthroughs is probably just trusting. I'm so used to doing everything for me. Like I've run my own company for like almost 20 years, and everything under the Angry Blue title has always just been me. So it's really fascinating to go to figure out how to let go of some stuff and go, Dan loves the shit out of this thing. Joe loves this. Or leave things loose enough for John to not just be like, okay, I'm just doing a coloring book on your all's ugly stuff. Great. And really giving each other room to play. And then also, most of us really love fantasy world stuff. So it's fun to go, cool. What are some, I generally like playing Magic users. So like, how can we make warlocks look super cool, and what is our weird little flavor of tieflings gonna be, and where's the weird stuff to kind of sink our teeth into, but not dominate that too much, and give everybody room to kind of have a visual voice. Those have been my main things, at least.
Yeah, that's really awesome, especially like, working with a big team of other artists who have different specialties and different visions and stuff like that. I guess like coming together is always a challenging thing, but when you do find that happy medium with everybody, it's like very euphoric thinking, and kind of building, everyone building together is, you build the house and everybody looks at it like this is actually really cool.
I'm a video game nerd, so this kind of feels like, I obsessively listen to video game media. So I'm like, we kind of got like our own little game studio. This is pretty rad.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think for me, by the way, Mike, thank you for joining. Mike, by the way, is a founder of a NFT collection he's working on. It's called Block of Horror. So if you're a fan, of horror films, you got to check it out. It's pretty dope what they're working on. I think for me, there's been little breakthroughs. I think for me, every step of the way, from getting the call from Patrick to him kind of expressing the idea, right? That was just amazing in and of itself, right? Then it's going out and crowdsourcing, concept art from a handful of artists that you love and admire. And you kind of get to see people's different spin on what the world could be like. What could that aesthetic feel like? Then you make a decision and you build out the team, right? And then from there, you start to actually see pen to paper from Steven, like, here's some aspects of the world. Here's what the experience looks like. Oh, here's a map of some lands. Like, here's the area of pirates and jerks, and here's where the orcs live, and so forth. Then you actually start to see some of the characters, right? And that stuff starts to come to light. And then out of that, you're kind of looking at some of the things Steven has written, and you're looking at the artwork, and then it sort of dawns on you after talking, in a few brainstorming sessions, that we should call this the Glimmering, right? Then there's a logo that comes together, and suddenly then you've got a trailer, and you're bringing in your web team, and they're expanding on it with, different color treatments and palettes and typeface, and it's just every step of the way there's just been something. Everything's just been building on each other in a really cool, organic way, and I'm really proud of these guys and everyone that's been involved in bringing their piece to the table, and it just keeps getting cooler and cooler, and I can't wait for this collection to actually see the light of day.
That's really awesome, and it's probably really, I consider this like a luxury for you guys, that you guys have a team. It's almost like a band where everybody's writing together and kind of building, riffing off each other until you get something great. Whereas it's been a little more difficult on my end, just with a smaller team and trying to build it. And it's interesting because you're kind of paving the way for yourselves as well. Building this and then stacking this on top of that. I'm so excited for the Glimmering. You guys have no idea. This is so freaking cool.
That's right, man. Thank you. I'm stoked to see what you guys do.
Yeah, do you want to tell us a little bit?
Yeah, I don't want to shill in your in your
no. Like we're like project friendly. Man. Tell us.
Yeah,
that's how community works.
Yeah, well, we've been deemed as the horror guys in the NFT space so far, which is pretty cool. We're building a community-driven like powerhouse. It's not necessarily a film studio because we're doing a lot of media, but essentially we're building a community-based. Think of like a Bandersnatch or Choose Your Own Adventure type situation, but in the pre-production phase, where we're making a movie and sourcing the community for their voices and their votes. So we have 13 original stories that are being transformed into movie posters, and those will be the NFTs. And there's variants of those as well, but the community will decide which story of the 13 movie posters will become a feature film. And then the remaining 12 will be funneled into something we call micro projects, which could be anything from graphic novels to TV scripts to a board game, really anything. And the community has a voice and a vote. We have a voting portal being built. We have a great cybersecurity team auditing our smart contract. And really stoked to be building with a community, which is very exciting.
I love that. We just had Patrician up. I don't know if I'm saying it correctly. Join us up on stage as well. Did you have a question or an add-on? This is fabulous. Congratulations on that work. I love it. I am a fan.
Hi guys. Yeah, I work on a D&D project myself. I was
Nice.
just wondering if there was any particular modules or any of the classic artists that you'd say had particularly inspired your work for this project.
Oh shit! Well, this is where Justin and I talk over each other.
No, I'm gonna let you roll with it.
Larry Elmore is my guy. Clyde
Nice.
Caldwell. Uh, Terry, TD. Man, so many. I carried monster manuals around with me forever. It was my main source of inspiration for drawing for a long time. Justin?
Yeah, I have one of those things where like every artist that I love, I'm like, this is so horribly transparent, but I'm trying to avoid any of that at the same time. So like I kind of bring every artist that I love to this project, and also I'm like, but this is just me. I'm not ripping everybody else off just because I love all of them, right? So I mean, of course, you throw all the Vallejo and Frazetta and all that stuff in there, and of course, none of us are, other than John, are painting that way. But it's, I don't know, just kind of cool to finally be able to put our little stamp of like how we've interpreted our hand into this world for the first time.
Yeah, I was going to say the Hildebrandt brothers were what came to mind pretty early on in the project for me. Obviously, Vallejo, all that as well.
Cool.
Not one of you has agreed to tell me a song you listen to. I'm scared.
Study beats for like 11 hours.
We work in total silence as a rule.
We're not allowed to listen to anything.
I
Or
actually,
listen to
It
anything
was
until
in the
until
contract.
sorry.
I'm sorry.
I actually do work in total silence most of the time.
I do too, a lot.
Oh God, I couldn't do that.
Maybe
All right.
occasionally I'll listen to like Aphex Twin. That's about it.
So you go
I mean,
from 0 to 100 only.
Yeah.
Lyrics distract me. I don't know why.
yeah.
My list starts getting really annoying and pretentious, and so I don't even want to do that.
I love it. You guys are, I love this team. It's just very fun.
I tend
Is there
to.
anyone else in the audience that wants to come up and chat or share or ask a question? We're probably going to wrap up here in the next few minutes. And before we go, we will do a little giveaway.
Ooh. Do we get stuff?
Let's see. I think we have.
Yeah, nobody claims it, then we just get to keep it, I think.
Yeah, it's like a lost and found.
It really is.
No. Okay, where is, I think Brent's here, but I can't see him.
Brent is here?
Yeah. Okay, here we've got another request. We do have a request from livingdice.com. So I am going to bring you up and invite you to ask questions or share. Oh, and then here we go. Oh, I see. He's under the glimmering. Okay. Okay, and Brent is here.
Well, happy birthday, Brent.
Yeah, Brent.
Thank you. I want to hear from Living Dice.
Yay, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Oh, hi, Brent.
Brent turned 24 today, everyone.
I wish.
We've been calling him 50.
Congratulations, bud.
Y'all make an old man feel good. Thank you. This has been great. I really do want to hear from Living Dice as well. So I'll be brief, but just sitting in the background listening to this after my son was done with his little 4th grade concert was a delight. And then when we got in the car, I just put y'all on speakerphone and I let my 10-year-old listen to you all talk for 15 minutes on the ride home, and his mind was fucking blown. He's like, Dad, these people are doing all of this? Really? I'm like, yes, son, this is the team I have been blessed to surround myself with. Like, the weakest link in the chain is your dad, dude. And he's an aspiring artist. I woke up this morning at 5:30, and there was 2 hand-drawn birthday cards from the kids. Their talent is nowhere near y'all's yet, but I think you inspired them, and I just want to thank you. And I'll stop with one last thank you. I I don't think I realized exactly how much I was doing to myself in building this with you all over the last 5 months, and not pausing to be really present in the world outside of the world of Gripner and the Glimmering. And no joke, when I got the tweet and I saw in the Discord the bespoke bard that you all created of and for me holding the drum set with the double bass drum, I'm not kidding, guys. Like I fucking just melted into a puddle of tears. I hadn't even given myself the space or the time to think about needs or even like love in general. You know what I mean? And so unexpectedly receive such a gift. It just first it made me awaken for a minute and like realize like how doing really good things, having a lot of fun. Brent, you also got to just look up once in a while, see the world. You know what I mean, and feel the love. And y'all brought that to me today, and it meant a lot. Thank you.
Happy birthday,
that's
brother.
awesome.
Thank y'all.
Happy birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah, happy
Thanks for
birthday.
sharing that. That's awesome.
That's true.
I love that. I know that there's some people who are trying to ask questions that are on PCs. So if you are trying to come up and ask a question, I just happened to get a couple of texts. You will only be able to, like, I can't even see you in the room. On the PC, it's sort of more of like a streaming audio without the interactive portion. But if you, I do want to read one question I just got, which is, would the game include a module for encounters that has battle maps?
Oh, that'd be really fun. I don't know the answer to that, but I'd love to get in on that.
That would be what maybe like, is that more like how the game design portion works, where that's like related to Steven's vision, and then
I don't think we've gotten there yet. That's one of those like, because we've had so many questions. We're like, can we do this? We're like, we got to do all this stuff first. And I think that files under that.
That's interesting.
Great. Thank you for sending your question.
By the way, Jax, can I quickly apologize to Brent for all the F-bombs I dropped while his 10-year-old was in the car?
I'm pretty sure, like, based on everything going on, that they're very well exposed.
He's like, well, I hear that from mom all the time, Dad. I don't repeat them.
Oh, guess what?
To me, but that's a different story.
Great.
I have an answer. Because our illustrious Steven actually just messaged me and said the answer to the question is yes, we will have battle maps. So he's on his PC.
Sweet.
Yep.
I guess
and
we'll
I
add
love
that to
the
the
fact
Trello
that you guys
board.
are all pumped up.
So is Steven just like stealth listening right now? How the hell is that happening?
It's because the people that are on PC, we can't see them. And they can't interact directly.
I think the dude has an iPhone or a mobile phone, but it's all good. It's all good. We love him anyway. Steven, if you can hear me, we're going to talk shit about you.
Mute this guy.
Speak back. We love you, Steven.
We did have another folks join us on stage. Eric, I wanted to give you a space to ask us a question or join or whatever you'd like to do.
How's it going?
What's up?
Great. How are
It's
you?
going.
What's going on?
Good. I spoke a little bit at the previous one. Super happy you guys keep putting these on. It's very interesting to listen to. I have a company called Mirror Escape. We just closed our Kickstarter up, so I'm not shilling right at the moment. But what we're doing is we're creating augmented reality tabletop gaming.
Nice.
So we're partnered up with Hero Forge, Dwarven Forge, Dragonlock, like all the big boys are on board. Kraken Dice is going to help us out. A lot of stuff already in the works. But what I want
just
to
saw
know
that yesterday. It looks amazing.
Thanks, man. Yeah, jump in our Discord. Hit me up after. Come on in, and I'll show you some demos and jump on live with you and everything. I'm in there 24 hours a day. So,
it looks really cool.
Yeah, send us a link to that. Would you add us on the Glimmering so I can get the Discord link and we can spread the word and check it out, man. I'd like to see it. Congrats on the Kickstarter.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we raised like $420,000 or something, which is plenty to get going. But
420 is a good number.
It is. I know
Dragon
we got
Ball.
we got where we needed to go.
Dragon
Um,
Bong.
but I think what I'm curious about, because obviously there's such distinct artwork in the 2D world, right? Like when you see a certain artist, and we're drawn to certain artists because of their 2D style. What we're creating, obviously, is a digital 3D realm, where you could essentially, and we are, I've got a plan for NFTs that the rest of the team isn't really privy to yet, but I've very much got it down like in the pipeline and working on it. But in my vision, what we could do, and let's just take what you guys are working on as an example, right? Let's say you get that NFT and you load it into our platform. Your NFT, that character you've created, is now sitting next to you on your couch. Or, and somebody was asking before about battle maps and whatnot. You could buy the NFT of the battle map, and that battle map spreads out on your coffee table in front of you, so you can actually interact with it using the NFT character that you've rolled with the stats and everything else. So that's gonna be a really cool application for NFTs in the near future using Mirrorscape's Arcana. But what I'm wondering, because I'm talking to the artists, is like, how do you make a distinct style in 3 dimensions instead of just 2? Because we have fantastic artists that we found all over the world that do Substance Painter, and they use the STLs that we provide them. And there's obviously some amazing sculptors out there that make incredible work. But what would you say differentiates the style when creating in 3D versus obviously having an original style in 2D, if that makes any sense?
Well, we're not doing stuff in 3D. We're drawing in 2D. So maybe I'm misunderstanding your question.
No, I just mean like how do you translate like a particular style from a 3D look into like a 2D, or from a 2D look into like a 3D experience? Is there a way to differentiate? Maybe it's the molds that you're drawing on, or do you guys have any experience with Substance Painter or ZBrush or anything like that?
Or are you asking like how does style show through in 3D?
Yeah, pretty much just kind of like how
I
artists
think
would
that
differentiate.
Yeah, I
I
can
think
I
that's
can
just good
answer that.
direction, man. Yeah, go for it, Dave.
We don't really. That's not really part of our process, right? We have not really considered or thought about what sort of 3D applications are involved in this. We are all 2D illustrators, kind of like riffing on different ideas and things like that. So we've not really looked at that. That would be interesting for sure. I would love to see some of the stuff that we're doing translated into something, along the lines of Hero Forge or something like that. But
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Yeah,
I mean, that would be incredible. But that's not really part of the process of what we're doing.
for
And
sure. Yeah,
I'm not sure how this maps, but Stephen introduced me to a company, and the name of it is going to escape me. I'd have to look it up on my calendar, but they create really super high end, high quality 3D miniatures. And they saw our project because Steven's been out there talking about it. And this person is connected with him, I guess, on Facebook or through the industry or otherwise. And the call that we had this week was essentially collaborating to take what you all are doing in 2 dimensions and creating it in 3D molds, so people can have miniatures. So, this project, I think, at success, has infinite opportunity to continue to evolve. And things like what you're discussing right now, as well as what this miniature company is calling us and asking us to partner with, present an opportunity to continue to just compose what these artists are creating now in new ways that still respects, honors, and just advances their initial 2D creation.
That's awesome. I was going to say,
I think that's kind of what I was trying to get at. Maybe not worded correctly, but yeah, there are some fantastic molders out there that could take your 2D work and kind of make it 3D. Because if you're creating characters, and characters are obviously going to be used for Dungeons and Dragons, people are first thing they're going to want to do is they're going to want a mini of that character. You know what I mean?
Oh,
And
absolutely,
it's going to look, it's
absolutely.
obviously going to look dope in 2D. but like a 3D version of what you're creating is going to be on people's mind as soon as they want to play with it.
Yeah, the company
Yeah.
that we spoke with yesterday is called War Games Atlantic. You could look them up. Guy's got a really interesting backstory. He's been playing kind of tabletop and war-related games since he was a little kid. Professionally, he was in marketing, and like 3 years ago, decided he was just going to take a stab at this and kind of do something new in the 3D molding space and create these high-quality miniatures that the market really hadn't seen before. So yeah, I think the opportunities for this stuff to go from the flat page to a three-dimensional realm are absolutely real and right in front of us. And my next step with War Games Atlantic is, once we look at what they're proposing from a deal perspective, is to literally just push them off to Justin and Dan and John and Joe and figure out the best way to do it so it reflects and captures the beauty and the excellence of everything they've created so far, right? The importance is that nothing diminished the quality of their work. It just captures it in a three-dimensional realm.
Right. Yeah, I think that's what I was trying to get at, and that's so cool and that's so exciting.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
I think we're all 100% down with that idea.
Yeah, I have
Most
some thoughts
definitely.
on that. I don't know if you guys watched Arcane. I
Oh my
loved
God.
stylistically they did some stuff where they would take two-dimensional like painting and they would map it onto the 3D characters. I would love to see stuff like that if we're talking about how this translates into 3D. Street Fighter kind of did a recent changeover when they made the jump from 2D to 3D. I think that's the kind of thing that would, carry the stylistic details from one medium to the next.
I love that.
I agree. I think
All right,
that's
very
fun.
very cool. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you, man. Congratulations again on that Kickstarter. That's huge.
Hey, thanks. Yeah,
It's no easy
we'll
task to raise $420,000, and it's even harder to raise $420 on the nose. So, congrats.
well,
That's amazing.
it's even harder right now when it's like, do you want to pledge or do you want to fill up your gas tank? You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just one of those
Yes.
things where decisions need to be made. But awesome. Thanks a lot, guys. And I'll hook you up with that Discord later.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Cool.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah,
All
thank
right.
you.
Speaking of Discord, we are at 6:30, and this is the end of our space tonight. If you enjoyed hearing from the folks up here on the stage, please give them a follow. And for those of you who are down in the audience, maybe go take a little bit of a look to your right and a little bit of a look to your left and see if there's something interesting. Maybe you make a new friend by following them. We are having some upcoming opportunities to actually play the one shot with the artists coming up. So please make sure to follow our Twitter so that you don't miss out on that. We also did just recently open up some game slots, upcoming games to actually be able to play Dark and Stormy Night. You will also find that information both on the Twitter and in the Discord. And then finally, thank you to all of you who have joined us and hung out through the end of this evening. And if you are not already on the VIP pre-allow list, which means that you are will receive the free poster NFT, which is posted at the top of the space of the room, and you go to the Gripner, remember the Gripner Discord, right, which is a link. So if you see it there, you can see what you will get. Also, within that, there are 4 rares. And additionally, out of the 500 first individuals to get the VIP pre-allow list, 100 people will also receive the screen printed and signed version by Mr. Angry Blue. And then finally, if you would like to be eligible and earn your reward for hanging out with us in Twitter tonight, you can join our Discord. And in the Discord, we will know to contact you because you are going to post 49 is looking fine. Happy birthday, Mr. Brent.
Thank you. That's
Everyone
nice.
who hung out here
Happy
tonight,
birthday.
You don't need to
earned a spot.
remind the
So
world that I'm
please
49,
join the
though,
Discord
y'all.
and go ahead. If you're already in our Discord, just go ahead and do it anyways. Thanks everybody for joining. This was an excellent session. It's like so fun to hear from different perspectives. So thank you all for sharing with us. And I think I'm a little bit overwhelmed and blown away by the level of like collaboration and camaraderie amongst y'all as artists. And so congratulations, and everything is fantastic.
Thanks, Jax.
Thanks
You
y'all
bet.
for being here, and y'all the best. Keep at it.
Thanks, Judge.
Thanks for having us.
What? All right, take care. Oh, happy
Woohoo!
Cinco de Mayo.
Happy Cinco de Mayo.
All right, take care,
All right,
everyone.
good night, everybody.
Tequila,
Okay.
man.
See you guys
See ya.
later.